Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about a Major League Fishing event, a Toyota Series event on Table Rock, April 19th and April 20th of 2018. I'm going back a ways on that. But I didn't get a chance to cover this then. I wasn't doing what I'm doing now. So I want to go back and show you guys where I caught these fish. I did write an article on it. I didn't really have the YouTube back then, but I did write an article on exactly what I did and how I caught those fish. But I wanted to do a video on it to explain it better and show you guys where I caught those fish and why those fish did what they did. A lot of people struggled in that tournament. But before we get started, if you guys would, if you are not a subscriber yet, subscribe to the channel. We've seen significant growth. You guys have been watching the videos. I've been growing a lot. I'm doing a lot of things that a lot of people are not doing in my YouTube channel, which is awesome. And it is showing. You guys are showing the support, commenting on the videos, liking the videos, really showing growth here. And I appreciate every single one of you guys. And I love talking fishing with you guys. So that is what my channel is here for, is to help you guys. And that shows me it's helping you guys. So that is awesome. Okay, so let's dig into this. So what happened in this tournament was it was a 2-day tournament towards the middle of April. That year was a really cold April. So the water temps in practice, I know I've seen it get up to, I think, 58 degrees, if I remember right. It's a long time ago. I know it was right around 60, right in there, just a little bit below 60, if I remember right. I was up by the dam. You'll see where I was fishing at. I was fishing, I think it's called North Indian Creek. Right there's Indian Point Marina, right in that area. You'll see all that in the videos there. So what happened was these fish were coming up to spawn, and I was catching them in pre-spawn. I was catching them off points to start the tournament. Not to start the tournament, but in practice. And I didn't want to run up to the dirty water because I didn't know a whole lot about it. I didn't want to run too far, and then there's only so much dirty water on Table Rock. So I didn't want to run out of fish. So I found the area close to the boat ramp. And I basically just fished in. There's some other places I fished besides Indian Creek, but that is where I found the most amount of fish. And a lot of people did not catch limits both days. So me finishing where I finished was really good. I'll tell you guys where I finished when I get the video all done here and walk you through it all. I'll tell you right now, I'll flip the page over here. I got 54th place out of 197 boats. 51st was a check, so I was just 3 places out of a check. I had 20 pounds, 1 ounce. Check was 20 pounds, 9 ounces. So I was just right there, just out of it. But I had a limit both days. A lot of people did not get limits both days. Even guys that took checks did not get the limits both days. So I was around a lot of fish. I just didn't get the bigger bites. I don't think I missed any of the bigger bites either. So that was a real clean tournament that I fished. Okay, so let's get into this here. Okay, the first picture here that you're going to see is it's going to pop up here, and this is where I fished at, right there in Indian Creek. And there is the 3 areas there, or not 3, but how many rivers there? There's the red, the blue, the yellow, the green, and the purple. And I'm going to break you down on each one of these sections and what exactly I caught there and when I caught them. There's a little bit of practice in there and in the tournament as well. There are some other places I caught fish in practice, but nothing that was real significant, so I didn't add that in here. Okay, so to start this off with, the red right there is just outside of Indian Point Marina. That's been a real good bank for me. It's also good for smallmouth in the post-spawn. It's good in the pre-spawn. It's good in the winter for smallmouth. They pull out on it. It's just a good bank all around. The blue, the 2 points there to the north of Indian Point Marina, that's where they were staging at, and I caught a lot of them there in practice, but I did not get any there in the tournament. The yellow, the points to the north, I did catch 2 fish in the tournament up there on the furthest north point. And I did see one of the competitors, he was actually hitting a bank back in that area that I did not fish, and he was in the top 10. So the fish were there. He was just running it. He would hit it in the morning and then go wherever he went, and then he would come back in the afternoon because I stayed in this area all day. So I seen him come in the mornings, and then he would come back in the afternoon. He'd leave and then come back and hit that one stretch in the afternoon. That was not a stretch I was hitting, but that was just the area that was in there, and he was in the top 10. He was doing something a bit different than I was, and there must have been bigger fish along that bank or something. And then the green is, there's steeper banks to the west of that cove. And I'll get in later why this was significant to know those areas. I did not fish those in practice, but I'd caught them there in a tournament before and got my limit, and it saved me take a check in a BFL. I had hardly nothing, and then ran to those, never fished them in my life, and started catching fish there. And then the purple is where it Y's off. I think it's, I don't know if it's Little Indian Creek or what it is right there called exactly, but it Y's off to the west. And you'll see the purple circled there on that north bank. I also caught some there. So, okay. So let's get into the second picture here. This is the Indian Point Marina and south right there, that bank. The red dots is where I caught 2 keepers the first day, and I didn't catch any the second day. And they were in 18 to 22 foot of water. This was pretty much everywhere. They was in 18 to 22 foot of water. Some of them I'd cast up to the bank. Some of them I'd cast parallel with the boat, just depending on exactly when I would just, I can't remember. It's been so long ago exactly where it was. But sometimes I'd cast up to the bank. Sometimes I would cast parallel to the boat in the 18 to 22 foot of water. I did catch some there in practice, shook some off. I don't remember exactly where. That's why it's not in there. But I did catch the 2 keepers on day 1 there. I think I did miss one there on day 1 too, if I remember right. So that got my morning started pretty good there on the first day. And then the third picture there, which is the one circled in the blue, it'll be the third, and right here it'll be both of them in this picture. It'll be the marina north of the Indian Point Marina there. There's a weight block, and then there's a dock that comes out right there. And the green, I shook fish off there in practice, and all those spots right there, especially right away off that dock right there, there's some brush piles right there. I think they was brush piles. They might have been big rocks. I didn't have all the good equipment back then. I didn't have the front-facing sonar to see all that, but I think that's what it was brush piles. And there was a lot of fish there, shook a lot of them off. And then also back towards that point, I shook them off there. And then the next picture, which would be the yellow that was circled, or I jumped a little bit ahead there. Then the next point up, I shook them off in practice as well. I got a lot of bites in there, as you can see where the green is. I shook them off. That'll be the picture to your right. Now, the fourth picture here is the points to the north. They're the ones furthest north. The green is where I shook them off in practice. And then the red is I caught 1 keeper on day 1 and 1 keeper on day 2. Right there in that area right there. Now, let's get to the best area there is the green. That was my best area altogether. That was the steeper banks. And that's where I started off. In the tournament, I hit those points that I just showed you before this, and I didn't have anything the first time I fished all those points right there. By this point, I had 2 keepers, and I think it was 11 or 12 o'clock, and I'm like, oh man, here we go. I got to figure something out. So I ran to this steeper bank because there was a cold front that came through in this tournament, and ended up dropping the water temperatures. What was it, 6 to 8 degrees? It was up in the high 50s, and then it was in the low 50s during the tournament. So the last day of practice, it really just went. It got cold that night before the tournament, and the water temperatures tanked out. So the fish moved back out deeper. These spotted bass moved back out to the steeper bank, which is closer to the channel right there. And there was a good strong wind blowing on these banks. So that's why these fish were up there, because that good strong wind was blowing that plankton up there, and those shad were moving up in there. And those spots like to move up and down, and they pushed out real fast out to that deeper water. So that's where I found them at. So as you can see in the first one, there'll be 2 of them right here. So it'll be the one to the right. I caught 3 keepers on day 1. That's all the red dots. The orange was 3 keepers on day 2. Out of that area. Then my co-angler on day 2, he caught, all mine were spots. He caught 1 largemouth. I believe there's a laydown up there. There was something that was close up to the bank, a laydown or a tree there, right up close to the bank. That is where my that's the light blue, he caught 1 largemouth. And then the other picture there to your right, or to the left, was, yeah, there's 2 keepers there on the red. I caught 2 keepers on day 1. And then the orange is 2 keepers on day 2 out of that area. I did not practice that. That's just, I had previous experience in a tournament in mid-April where they did the same thing. A cold front came in that pushed my fish. I was fishing I was fishing Cow Creek, actually is the name of it. I'll cover a BFL. I'll cover that BFL as well. You guys will find that under tournament breakdowns under BFLs. So the 6th area, I didn't go there, this next picture, I didn't go there until day 2 because I had my limit out of these areas and I was just trying to find a bigger fish because I knew I was going to be close to, a check. So I was like, okay, I got to find a bigger fish. So I went to the 6th area. I'd already had a limit at this point. I think I had 6 keepers at this point. So I was just trying to cull some ounces, just try to get up there and get a check out of this. So I found this and just went to that area because it looked similar to the other areas. I was fishing right in there. And that would be the purple area that was circled on the first image. The one with the Y where it Y's off back to the north and to the west. And you'll see in there, I caught the 2 red dots. I caught 2 keepers on the 2nd day right there. And one of them was a coal, one of them was not a coal. Because I had one of them that was a line burner, so I did get rid of it. And then all tournament, I forget how many keepers I caught together. I caught quite a few. So I had the 2 limits, which was really good because, like I said, a lot of guys, even in the top that took checks, did not even catch limits. So that was really cool to get and find the fish and figure them out, just how they moved out, and just to kind of neat to adjust to those fish and adjust to them as the tournament changed. Now, what was I throwing? In practice, I was throwing 2 different lures. I did this for a reason. I was throwing a shaky head, which was a 2K Jigs Pro Zone shaky head, a half ounce, or a quarter ounce, and I was throwing that in a color black. I was throwing a Zoom Finesse worm in straight pumpkin seed. That was the color I was catching them on in practice. And it's the color I caught them on in the tournament as well. And then I was also throwing, so it's kind of newer when the Ned Rig came out. I didn't really know for sure what it was for, but I had some salt shaker worms, Big Hammer salt shaker worms that was a 5-inch. And I didn't want to tie in a drop shot. So I was like, let's take this little Ned Rig and let's put this 5-inch, Big Hammer on there. So I put the 5-inch Big Hammer on there. I can't remember what color it was I was throwing. I can't remember if it was Magic Bug or Watermelon Red or Watermelon Seed. I can't remember exactly. It's been so long ago. So I put that on the Ned Rig. I was like, that's really cool on the Ned Rig. And it worked perfect on there, the size of it. With I was using a Finesse Ned Rig made by 2K Jigs. It's called a Finesse Ned Rig, a 1/5 ounce, 1/5 ounce. And I was just throwing that with the green pumpkin head. So where did that salt shaker come in? The salt shaker worm came into play when that cold front came in. I caught those first 2 fish on the Finesse worm, and then I was struggling. To get the bites. So I switched over to the salt shaker worm. And that's what I was getting those bites on, was that smaller worm. And those spots, they like the, even the smallmouth and spots. I don't think I had a smallmouth. I think I did catch 1 keeper smallmouth. No, I caught 2 keeper smallmouth. That is right. I had 2 keeper smallmouth. And a smallmouth love the salt shaker worm. They love it on a drop shot. They also love it on that Ned Rig. And I like to throw the 5-inch or the 4-inch, depending on where I'm fishing at. That works really good. And the Zoom Finesse worm works really good on Table Rock as well. That's helped me take a check. Both those combinations have helped me take a check there on Table Rock twice. So those are good combinations. Now, what made that area so great was they pushed out because that water got colder. They was moving up. They wasn't spawning yet in that area, but they was all pushing up there to spawn. And pre-spawn, those spots, they like to school together. So they were schooling. In practice, I was shaking off some spots. I was shaking off 3 to 4 fish. I wasn't even hooking them. I was just shaking them off. They were biting it. And they were biting it good. I would have probably caught 15 to 20 keepers a day during practice if I wanted to, but I was shaking them off of there. I was just trying to find the fish, locate the fish. And they were all on these points, those points on the other side that I showed you. And shallower points like that. But come tournament time, they wasn't there. And I was like, well, where did they go? And I've seen this in the BFL. I think it was a year before. The year before or 2 years before, I seen that in the BFL. So I went over to that steeper bank over there. That's exactly where I went in that BFL in the last couple hours and caught 3 keepers, I think it was. So I ran over there to that steeper bank, and that is where I was catching them. And what was I doing with that? I was just letting it sink to the bottom. I think it was on the bottom anyway. I was sitting in the 18 to 22 foot of water, sometimes the 30 foot of water. I was trying to keep it in the 18 to 22 foot. But sometimes it get in 30 foot because that's a steeper bank over there. And I was just kind of casting parallel to the bank or up to the bank and getting down to what I thought was the bottom. And then I was just dragging it back to the boat. I mean, when I say dragging it, I wasn't lifting it. I was just dragging it. And I was dragging it, and I was just shaking it. If you've seen the salt shaker worm, I don't have it with me right now. It's kind of long and slender, and it's got a little tail on it, about yay long. It's a straight tail. I'll put a picture of it in here so you guys can see that as I'm talking to exactly what it looks like. I'll put a link in there so you guys can go buy that if you want to purchase that lure. And then the Zoom Finesse worm, you guys know what it is. But they were just sitting out there, and there's trees out there. There's suspended timber out there, and you just drag it and you shake it back. Even if you're not on the bottom, it's coming up through those trees, and it's coming up over the trees. And those spots were out in those trees, and they were feeding on the bait in those trees. So it looked like bait coming up through the trees to them is what it looked like. So that's why the fish were out there, and they moved out to that deeper side. I'm not sure what they was doing at, up lake in the dirtier water. There was probably some on beds way up there, because that dirtier water was probably up to around 65 or so. And so I'm not really sure what was going on up there. I didn't even go up there and practice. I stayed all around the dam area. That's what I wanted to do, was fish out deeper. It's kind of before front-facing sonar took off, so a lot of guys did struggle. Seems like since the front-facing sonar has taken off, table rock bite has really picked up because a lot of guys can fish out deeper that could not before. So it's really helped the deep bite out. But then a lot of guys struggled to get limits both days. That was before the front-facing sonar craze kind of took off. But that is where I caught them at. So hopefully that'll help you guys on Table Rock if you guys are looking to catch fish on Table Rock and try to figure out exactly what Table Rock is all about. Those areas are good with those lures. Swim baits work. A big hammer 3-inch or a 3.5 work great in there. The Alabama rig works great in those areas, just rolled over the top of those trees the same way as the swim bait. So you can do those. I think it was a little too warm to throw a jerk bait, but in the colder water, they'll sit in these the ditches. If the wind's blowing like that, get in the middle of those ditches right there in those areas. So that is the tournament breakdown. That is how I caught them. Like I said, I got 54th place out of 197 boats. Took 51st place for a check. I caught 20 pounds, 1 ounce. It took 20 pounds, 9 ounces for a check. So I was just 8 ounces short of a check. So appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you guys supporting the channel. And I'll try to get another video up here shortly for you guys. Thank you.